I'm Jess, part-time hobbit, and I'm here to talk to you about Tolkien. Food is a big deal in Lord of the Rings, and a quick Google search will bring up hundreds of beautiful-looking elf and hobbit recipes that'll promise a delicious trip through Middle-earth. However, as someone who grew up on Lord of the Rings, it wasn't these really tasty-looking meals that kept me up at night. I always had a really strange fascination with the really, really terrible-looking foods of Middle-earth. And since I haven't seen a lot of published recipes for those, I thought it would be a good idea to put them on the internet myself. You're welcome. We'll have a special guest acting as food critic in this video, since this one's coming out on my birthday, and I do not want to have to taste my own creations. Instead, they're going to be tried by my incredibly resilient boyfriend Dylan, who you can meet a little bit later on. Yeah! The recipes are going to be in the description, but please, please don't follow them. Without any further ado, let's get into this. Quick warning, there's going to be footage of a whole dead fish coming up. If that grosses you out and you'd like to skip it, here's the timestamp, feel free. For our appetizer, I thought we would go for something light, simple, and refreshing. I call this one Gollums Sashimi. The film and books let us see Gollum indulge frequently in his favorite snack, and I've always been in awe of what a simple culinary delight it is. For this recipe, you will need a whole fish. If you wanted to go for accuracy, I would recommend a fish native to the European Alps, as that seems like the best approximation to Gollum's old haunt, the Misty Mountains. Unfortunately, fish are expensive, and I'm broke, so I'm going for the cheapest I could find, a branzino. Now, the real genius of this recipe comes from the technique. Gollum both kills and tenderizes his food in one fell swoop via beating it against a rock. This ensures maximum freshness and tenderness. Do fish need to be tenderized? No, not scientifically, but I don't think Gollum really cares. This can be imitated by a gentle pounding with a meat mallet, or, you know. Oh my god, the bag's open! The bag's open! Once your fish is nice and tender, I recommend serving it up as is, maybe with a pinch of salt if you like the person you're feeding. What makes you qualified to judge this segment of today's video?
Well, I've been eating since I was a young boy. I think it was around the age of 13 that I got into food.
Wait, that was when you started eating?
Seriously, you know, professionally, on a professional level. I also, that was the first time I think I'd ever eaten. Yeah.
Okay, first impressions.
So Jess got a whole fish, a branzini. The plan was that I was going to just lift this up and take a whole bite out of it. Or not. I would have taken a whole bite literally with my bare mouth. And then seconds before filming, she goes, "Branzini's freshwater, right?" And I go, "I don't know," so I did a quick Ask Jeeves search and found out that it's a saltwater fish, which means that it's filled to the brim with parasites.
Okay, well, it could be.
I've got parasites as big as my arm.
One of the biggest parasites. I've got huge parasites.
In other words, as the Italians say, bon appetit.
Nope, no.
So it was just a quick 6 days in the hospital. The doctors say they've never seen such a terrible case of botulism. Coincidentally, it had nothing to do with the fish. It was just because I went to Applebee's the other day, so.
Okay, so I think that the main part of this technique was the tenderizing.
The tenderizing, well, it gave me the vibes of a fish that had been beaten against a counter, a kitchen counter. Did that happen at any point?
No? Eowyn's soup from the Two Towers is a core childhood memory of mine, but in a bad way. All that we really know is that it's bad, and I mean, it looks like fish. I'm basing this off of a Norwegian recipe for fisksuppe, or fish chowder, and I'm sure I mispronounced that. It seemed apt to pull from Scandinavian culture, considering that's what inspired Tolkien to create Rohan. Of course, when I say I'm basing my recipe off of this, that may be a bit of a stretch. The original recipe contained lots of lovely things like garlic and butter and pepper and carrots, but those wouldn't have been readily available in Rohan, much less when they're on the move. We can see a bit of green in the on-screen version, so we're going to use leeks as our vegetable of choice. I'm struggling to cut out the middle section here, halving it, chopping it, and then rinsing it well to get out the dirt and sand. Now, if we take another look back at that tasty dish, you may notice a sort of sheen on top of it. In my effort to replicate that look, I've passed over butter as our fat. Instead, we're going to cook our leeks down in lard, which will give us that nice BP oil spill sheen on top. Now, if I was trying to make this good, I would probably have this going on medium heat, but since Eowyn made this over a campfire, I'm just gonna full blast this baby the whole way. I understand that there are ways to cook food well over a campfire, but I personally haven't figured it out, so this is what I'll be doing. I felt the need to add in some sort of root vegetable, as the recipe called for potatoes, carrots, and parsnips. However, considering that Rohan is a tall grass plain land, none of those are native to this particular climate. However, turnips are, and because they share many of the same letters, my mind equates parsnips and turnips. So, turnips it is. I'm peeling and roughly chopping these. There's also a creamy film to Eowyn's soup that I hate to disregard. A standard fish chowder would contain cream or heavy cream, but I couldn't find any cows in the footage of the march to Helm's Deep. Upon a careful watch, I did, however, see at least one goat. Goat milk it is. Fish broth would be good here, but stock takes a long time to cook down, and we're on the move, so water it is. Flavorful. Look at that oily film. We really have something upsetting in the works here, folks. Now this is just gonna keep boiling until everything is soft, mushy, and lifeless. You'll have plenty of time for a dance break, or enough time to figure out that the hot water in your apartment is finally working again after 3 days. Once that's been boiled to a tragic mush, we're on to the fish. I'm gonna be using perch since that's native to the general climate of Rohan, but any white meat fish will do. This kind of looks terrible and shredded up, and that's because I shredded it up with my bare hands off camera. Huck that into the pot and let it boil until the flavor and integrity are compromised. Serve your soup up in a nice rustic bowl, and here we have it. A meal not quite fit for a king.
I've never watched the Hobbit movies. We've been dating for like nearly a year and a half now, and I only just told her that I haven't seen any of the Hobbit movies. The only bits of the Hobbit movies I've seen are the half of the first one, which we watched together on our first date.
And he didn't tell me.
I thought it'd be funnier to wait.
It wasn't.
It was hilarious.
This is our Eowyn's fish soup. Careful,
ooh, yum yum.
Hot.
Well, that's water.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again.
So?
It's gonna take me a long time to finish chewing this.
Are you happy with that?
As a chef, Jess has asked herself the question, why do we need flavor? And not only that, why do we need texture? And somehow, I'm very nearly shedding a tear here because this is just so impressive to me. Somehow she has made a meal that is so devoid of taste, texture, or any personality whatsoever. And that alone is why I think she deserves the Oscar. It's hard to say that something is bad when it has the same taste as air. See, do you have any lard?
I'm not letting you eat lard.
If you bring me lard and a spoon, I will eat lard live in front of this studio audience right now.
I like lard because there's like a purity to it.
Norm Macdonald was right. I could just knock a few of these out, I'm not gonna lie. Not good. Have you ever like eaten something and you sort of get hit with that feeling that like you're gonna actually die in real life? Because that's sort of what I'm feeling right now. And in a good way though.
I thought that Orc Grog was just chocolate syrup until I was 22. In the books, Orc Grog isn't a particularly bad thing. It reinvigorates Merry and Pippin and doesn't notably taste awful, but that's not what I want here. I want maximum pain. The orcs in the movie call this mixture grog, which is an actual thing. Historically, grog was a drink for pirates. Rum, which comes from fermented sugar cane, was a staple on ships in the 1700s. In the British Navy, men were allowed half a pint of rum mixed with a quart of water per day. Let's add 2 ounces of water and 2 ounces of rum to our shaker. The shaker should imitate the effect that sitting on the hip of an urukai would bring about, but to make sure you don't add any ice. We want this to feel and taste like water does after it's been left in a cheap plastic bottle in your car in July. Now, I don't think that should be the end of it. Sailors were also allowed sugar and lime to go with their grog. This would help the taste and likewise help them repel scurvy. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that the urukai weren't overly concerned with scurvy, so we're gonna nix the limes. We wouldn't want to sacrifice taste, though. To give us that hint of sour, we're gonna jump even further back in history to the ancient Roman Empire. Posca came about as a way to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. This Roman equivalent to Gatorade was a way to get rid of sour wine, and it helped keep soldiers on their feet. Sour wine is essentially vinegar, so the drink is more or less just diluted red wine vinegar. The vinegar helped cover the taste of questionable water and supposedly helped you feel full longer. Besides, I've never not felt jazzed after taking a shot of vinegar. In goes 1 shot of red wine vinegar. Now, all our recipes for posca or grog contain some sort of sweetener, but honey or sugar just didn't feel right. Besides, we haven't quite gotten this mixture to that nice chocolatey syrup color that had me fooled for years. Enter molasses. I'll be honest, I don't have a lot of lore justification for this one, but it's a runoff from rum and it makes it look right, so I think I'll just let it slide. Pour in 1 ounce of molasses and give it all a good shake. For presentation, I'm gonna cook up a few strips of man flesh. It's actually bacon, I promise I'm not a cannibal. This should be burned to a lovely crisp, then chopped into a fine powder. Dip the rim of your glass in red wine vinegar, then roll it through the bacon before pouring in your drink and serving.
One time I did an entire shot of soy sauce, just straight soy sauce, shot glass, straight down the hatch, and I have a feeling that I'm going to be wishing that I was doing that again. Is that bacon?
Well, yeah, I didn't use actual human flesh.
Oh, well then what's the point? Is that vinegar? To knowledge. God, it's like burning the tips of my nose hairs. I have a question. Is it apple vinegar? Interesting, because I'm sort of picking up on a fruity sort of thing, and I only had a little bit, so how about I take a gulp this time? The bacon is good, as bacon is wont to do. I think the worst part about this is the fact that if I went to a party and I was already maybe 1 or 2 shots deep, I would finish this whole glass.
No!
Even just lifting it to my face makes me want to vomit. Every minute that it is in my hand, a year goes off of my life. We really jumped the spectrum of flavors here. We went from something that sent me to the hospital. We went from that to something that was the equivalent of, well, I guess as a human, I would assume a whale shark on a day-to-day basis, what it tastes like for them to just and open up and just go through water, that's what Eowyn soup tasted like. And then we went to this, which is, I mean, how many words can you use to describe pain?
Do you feel closer to the magic?
No.
All right, that's all. Well, thanks to Dylan for...
It was a pleasure and an honor.
Put it down. Oh. Thanks so much for joining us this week. I hope I didn't upset any of you viewers at home too much with today's video.
I think my liver's shutting down.
Don't try these recipes, but if you do, I'm really sorry.
She's also not legally responsible.
Yeah, that. Don't try this at home, especially the raw fish thing. Please, please don't try this at home. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope that you all have a very happy holiday day.